Pastor MacArthur continues. He says, they, speaking of the religious leaders in Yeshua's day, they were absolutely convinced that not only was his religion different than theirs came from God and his came from Satan. Like I said, they thought he was a demoniac, right? They were quite convinced that he was doing miracles under the power of Beelzebub, the prince of the devils, right? And so, and he called that, Yeshua responded by telling them, you guys are committing the unpardonable sin by telling me that I'm doing miracles by the power of Beelzebub and things like that. You're blaspheming against the Holy Spirit. And so these were serious charges. MacArthur goes on to say they would be the first ones to say there's no compatibility between Judaism and the message of Jesus Christ. And so I'm going to insert my own comments here for a second. So what if we were to put it on the other foot? We in today's circles are fond of thinking that Judaism and Christianity are incompatible with one another. And why? We might say because Judaism is a religion of works and Christianity is a religion of grace, right? Judaism is a religion of deed and Christianity is a religion of creed, really, right? That's just a joke, just a pun. But in Yeshua's day, were they ready to hear the message that he was sending? Was what he was teaching so radically different from Judaism? Was it that the old wine and the new wine couldn't coexist, right? The old cloth and the new cloth couldn't coexist. Is that really what's going on? Remember, we're talking about this parable or this story in Matthew 9:14-17 that mentions these elements, and most Christian commentaries interpret the cloth and the wine as elements referring to Judaism or the Jewish religion. And the fact that Yeshua says that there's some incompatibility issues between the cloth, the old piece, the patch, and the new cloth, or the new patch and the old cloth, things like that, and the new wine and the old wine skins, and the wine and the incompatibility issues are to be interpreted as incompatibility issues between religious worldviews and things like that. And speaking of John MacArthur's comments here, I say, yes, it is true, right? Speaking that the religious leaders, they were challenging Yeshua, and they were really ready to say, look, you're bringing us things that we don't want to hear. You're telling us stuff that doesn't work for us. So in that regard, yes, it's true, but such sentiments would originate from a darkened heart. So it's understandable, right? There's no reason for true believers to echo such sentiments once the eyes of our heart have been enlightened. So what I mean is, there were in Yeshua's day, in the first century, there were Jewish people who listened to Yeshua's message, considered what he had to say, and then accepted it. And for those religious Jews, not talking about the Gentiles, just the religious Jews, did they make a break from Judaism? That's the challenge. That's my question to those of you who say, well, Jesus came to bring a new religion because the old religion was bankrupt. Judaism had run its course. It was worn out. It was dried up. It was darkened. It was it had gone off the deep end, and so therefore it's time for a reboot. To use kind of today's modern terminology, it was time for Jesus to come and reboot the whole franchise, right? Judaism required a reboot, and so he came and brought Christianity and kicked Judaism out. Judaism was out, Christianity was in. The law of Moses out, the law of Christ in, right? Old Testament out, New Testament in, right? That's kind of the mindset that we play with today, and where we just kind of accept as common interpretation when it comes to reading through passages like the one we're looking at. Pastor MacArthur continues, and what I mean, by the way, is that if those religious Jews of Yeshua's day felt the same way that we talk about today, well, then we would expect that they did start a new religion, including the Apostle Paul, who would come after Yeshua. Did they start a new religion? Right, brand new religion known as Christianity, something that that was never before ever spoken of in the Tanakh and the prophets. Right? Are we looking at a brand new entity We are talking about one new man, right? Ephesians chapter 2. But what does that one new man look like? That's my point. Eventually, we're going to have to contend with the fact that Gentiles are going to be brought into this religion, and that's going to drastically and radically alter even the forms of Judaism in the first century, to the point that they're going to have to make a break from this quote unquote new perspective, this new religion, this new outlook on approaching God. Yes, that did push Judaism eventually to the breaking point, but let's go back a little earlier first. Let's go back to Yeshua's day and back to Paul's day. Are we talking about a new religion? Here's what Pastor MacArthur continues to say. It is a message foreign to us. It is alien to us. It is contrary to us. It is destructive to our religion, right? Sharing the sentiments of the first century Jewish people. The way they would have reacted against Yeshua's challenging words, his stinging accusations, right?